Hi again. So this video is mostly going to cover Act 1, Scene 2, but we're going to finish up a couple of points about Act 1, Scene 1 since the last video got cut off. We mentioned that this is a moment of transition, and there's a lot of tension and anxiety around that, to the point where when these people introduce themselves to each other in the dark, they do it by saying, "Oh, I'm okay with Claudius. Are you okay with Claudius?" "Yeah, I'm okay with Claudius." And that's how they reassure each other, is based on whether or not they're okay with the current king. And we know there are some reasons not to be. For example, normally succession would go from a king to their son if their son is old enough to be king, and Hamlet is. So it's strange that instead the king's brother is taking over. This is one of those things that nobody explicitly talks about in the play, but it's sort of this question and tension that simmers under the surface. Hamlet, nobody mentions it until almost the very end of the play. In fact, Act 5, Hamlet finally brings it up, but this is something that people would be expected to already know and be thinking about, that there's something weird about this succession and who became king next. And then on top of all of this sense of something is wrong, where there's darkness and you know the king is dead and you know they're preparing for war because the Prince of Norway might show up and invade at any moment, then the ghost of the dead king appears, and he appears in armor. And so this is taken as an omen, as this ominous foreshadowing. The guards and Horatio are all thinking, this means something really bad. This is definitely not a good sign. So Shakespeare has set up the rest of the play for things are going to go downhill. There is something wrong with how this country is right now, and there is going to be something wrong. And, you know, we've already covered the plot, so you know that by the end of the play, the entire royal family will be dead. So he lives up to his foreshadowing here. To go on to Act 1, Scene 2, right after this dark, ominous opening, we go into this like glittering assembly where the new King Claudius opens the scene with this long speech where he's, we say it here, he consolidates and rationalizes his power. So he's acknowledging some of the strangeness of what's just happened, like that he married his wife's brother right after his brother, you know, very suddenly died. And there's some fantastic juxtaposition in that speech where he's explaining how it's okay that even though he's been grieving for his brother, he's at the same time able to overcome it, to do what's best for the country. And for him, that meant you know, becoming the leader and taking over and making sure everybody is safe and okay. But there's still sort of this unspoken question. We see that just the fact that Claudius is rationalizing what he's done in front of everybody shows that he knows that he has to do that there is something off about it. And so you also have people around him sort of reassuring him that they acknowledge his position and power and they're okay with him being king. For example, Laertes, who's Ophelia's brother, and Polonius, their dad, asks permission, the king's permission, for Laertes to return to school after he's been here for the funeral and the wedding, etc. And the king says yes, Laertes can go, but Hamlet wants the same thing. He wants to go back to school, and they say no, because they want to keep an eye on him. To be continued.